Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here on this final day of July.
Yes, and hopefully you guys had a good weekend. It was a stormy one.
Yes, it was. If it weren't, the only thing that was good about the storms is that it kept down the heat. When you see where it's 113 degrees in Phoenix or something like that, because MAGA Republicans are in office, then that's one of the reasons that we had lower temperatures because it was raining so much. We had a gully washer last night with lightning and thunder and everything else. That was just something else. I mean, it was unbelievable.
And right before the storm started, the sky was beautiful. It was like a dark purple and pink. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nice.
Yes.
It is this morning. All right, now we're already up to in the mid 70s, and looks like kids are going to be going back to school this week.
August 3rd. That's Thursday.
So coming up, the Chatham County School Zone cameras are going to be turned on soon, we're told, and on WSAV, which is on your side, as you may know. They said, and then another story right below that said at least 8 children hospitalized for heat exposure. So we're going to be sending kids back to school. Brittany, I never went back to school until the day after Labor Day. For the entire 13 years, I managed to cram a 12-year curriculum into 13. And all that time, we never went back until the day after Labor Day.
Well, that's tradition, Bill. Yeah. We don't do tradition.
And yet we managed to get educated. Now there was no fall break either. The fall break actually was Thanksgiving, and the day after. And there was no spring break except for Good Friday and the day after Easter. And the calendar of the schools at that time still had Christmas and Easter as on there, and not winter break and spring break.
Yes, well, and I've had some conversations with people about why would we be kind of like moving towards this, starting earlier, and I mean we do get out a little bit earlier in May than other schools.
Well, so what?
Well, and
we got out like the end of May or very early June, maybe 1st or 2nd or something like that.
Yes, well, and unfortunately, I do think that because we live in a lower poverty area, a lot of people need their children to be in school when they're at work, and that's kind of what we've used the school system for, is for
a babysitting service.
Yes,
yeah,
which has not really served the American people that well, and it's just unfortunate that that's the situation that we're in, and that poverty is a really big issue in Savannah, like huge, and it's getting worse. And they are continuing to raise taxes, which is going to continue to make things worse for the citizens here that live at a lower poverty level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, as you know, the government never has enough money. If you ask them, because no matter how much you give them, they never have enough. And they don't know why you can't work with less, even though they seem to not be able to. And case in point, of course, is just the latest city council where the council votes to maintain the millage rate. They try to make this into a big deal, like your taxes aren't going up. Au contraire. So we have a report.
Yes, and Bill, with the city council, they said it's the lowest millage rate that since the 1980s, which I think we're in a little bit of a different position, especially when property taxes have increased so much.
Yeah.
I think that they're still making more money than ever off of the taxpayer.
This is called lying with statistics.
Yes. And so people are struggling. And there was a lady that was at the city council, and there were several people who spoke. So if you have time to go back and watch the city council's meeting on Thursday, there were plenty of people that had issues with the taxes going up and just saying, we're in the highest inflation we've been in. People are struggling to make decisions between rent and, food and how they're going to get to work. And
thank a Democrat.
Yes. Well, and we do have a lot of them here on the city council. And this woman tried to plead her case with the city council on Thursday.
Okay. All right. To Mayor Johnson, city manager, all the women and all the men of the board, all the women and all the women, all the men and all the women at large, and Commissioner Ellis. Good evening, and thanks for your service. I am Beatrice Williams, and I reside at address 2004 Ford Avenue, Savannah, Georgia. I am a native Savannian, raised and educated in the public schools of Savannah, Georgia, and A.E. Beach High School. I have a high school diploma for. married to a veteran that have serviced all of us, been married for over 50 years. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. We are here for clarification on the millage rate and suggestion or an idea of a property tax increase. We do not want to generate any trouble. However, as citizens of this city, we deserve to understand and know what decisions are discussed and made that affect all of the citizens. The idea of a property tax increase would be devastating to a lot of residents. The citizens of this city do not desire or want any kind of tax increases. We are present here to show we oppose any suggestions of a property tax increase that would not be good for the struggling residents of Tremont Park. Savannah is a retired military community consisting of doctors, educators, policemen, policewomen, firefighters, men and women, to include white and blue-collar workers, living on what we call a fixed income. And for some, I know the checks.
Go ahead.
The checks are stretched from month to month to live in a city that we all love. We depend on our leaders to protect the interests of the citizens in this city. What the citizens see on the news is not acceptable. It's perfectly appropriate to disagree, however, in a respectful manner. I am not the mother, a close friend, or any of the members of the board. However, my parents taught me a soft answer turn away wrath, but harsh or grievous words stir up anger, and nothing is accomplished. By the way, if you want to read that, you can find it in Proverbs 15:1 of the Bible.
Right.
I pray the actions of the council be in check and the citizens come first in any discussion versus power. The citizens elect the council to serve and not fight each other. It's enough work for everyone to do. For example, our water bill went from $112 last billing cycle to $369. No knowledge of the increase. That's not acceptable. Why run the residents aware of an increase? A fixed income means there is no spare money for any surprises.
That's right.
The citizens of the council, we do not need you all to fight. Tremont Park was established in 1912. We have almost 100-year-old residents and school-age children, and we have been trying for over 10 years to get speed bumps. Carver Village has speed bumps. I ride down 52nd Street. There are 8 speed bumps from B Road to Bull Street, and Tremont Park cannot get one speed bump. That's not acceptable.
Ms. Williams.
I understand that this is not on the agenda.
Right.
for
Ms. Williams,
discussion.
we allowed a particular amount of time, so please.
So my time
Yeah,
is
2 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Ms. Bell.
my time
Yes,
is
ma'am.
up.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let me skip some. Again, we oppose the property tax increase or in the future. We are not going to change our minds. We want to live comfortably in this city and not worry about issues, but knowing the leaders will protect its citizens' interests. Our parents and our grandparents worked hard and long for us to have what we have, and we do not want to lose that because of these property tax increases, which people cannot afford.
Lady expressing her frustration. You know, it's like what was it they said? You know, your tax is only going to go up like $43, something like that.
On a house that's $100,000, I think, and then for a $500,000 home, it'd be a couple $100.
All right, $43 will almost buy a tank of gas now. It'll almost buy a day's worth of groceries. But it is not just the fact that, okay, this goes up $43. What did she say about her water bill that went up? And for what reason is incomprehensible. to go from 160 to something like 316 or something like that. Is it 112 to 316 or something along those lines?
Yeah. Well, and Steve Stanton just mentioned that his water bill went up 30% with no notice.
Uh-huh.
And he said, we need her as mayor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I think that that's the other interesting thing, Bill. She mentioned that she just has a high school diploma, and she's a very intelligent woman.
Yeah.
And
Well, she went to when they actually taught stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
well, I'm sure she understands budgets.
Mhm.
I think more people that run households understand budgets. A lot of people that are serving in our community, and this is not meant to be a diss on them, but they don't understand money, and so they just keep spending like everyone can afford it. And pretty soon we're going to be taxed out of our houses, and that's already happening here in Savannah.
In fact, that was the reason for the 20 years ago when we did the Stevens Day bill, so that your taxes, as long as you're living in that property, your taxes are going to be staying the same, because we had so many people being thrown out of their houses that they'd lived in for 30 years, if not all their lives. And it was just pathetic. And that bill inspired a lot of other communities around the state to do the same thing. And we're not bottomless pits. I'm sorry. And we need to rearrange the tax code so some people start paying taxes. Only about half the people in this country actually pay taxes. And when one half is supporting the other half, that has never worked in history. That equation hadn't come out well. And we have to go back to everybody going under a budget. This is what the budget is. You don't spend more than that. We have it here in the state of Georgia. We have it in the state of South Carolina. A lot of other they have this. They have the you can't spend more than you make. That is a mathematical fact that you cannot spend yourself rich. I'm sorry. I wish it were. Wish that weren't the case. But unfortunately, we don't live in the big rock candy mountain. We live in reality. And as Rush Limbaugh said, I'm the mayor of Realville. And sooner or later, you have to get down to reality, as the people of Chicago are finding out now, with all the illegal aliens that are pouring in and causing all the trouble that they're causing, and the citizens finally saying we're going to take matters into our own hands. But the fact that we are paying more for everything, when these people go to the store and they have to pay another dollar or two for eggs, when they have to pay another dollar or two for this, that, or the other, when the grocery bill that used to be maybe $60, $70 a week is now $120 a week, and then you go and you have to drive maybe to the grocery store, and the price of gas is going up because we have idiots in charge who won't go after our own oil. It's one of those things that it was called nickel and dime to death.
Well, and I think the other thing that we have to remember, so the reason that they're trying to make a case for us having to have the millage rate stay the same so that they can have money is they need to do all these storm drain projects that they don't have money for. But at the end of the day, we have to start picking and choosing.
Well, that's what SPLOST was for.
Well, apparently it's not enough. It's never enough. That's the whole problem. And so we need to figure out how we're going to pay for things that we need to pay for. Also, we have all of this stuff. All of the money's going to River Street. Let's all be honest.
Look at look at what she said about her neighborhood, that they've done nothing for improvements there.
So, I mean, when you're going to vote for your alderman, make sure that that if they've had projects that the city's been giving money for, or if you guys are just paying taxes for other parts of the city that you don't get, and you're not being represented by your alderman.
Exactly.
A couple of things before we go. Lizzie Warren says she needs to vote for different candidates. Absolutely. And stop voting Democrat. And Steve Stanton Sr. says, what diploma did Christ have? You're absolutely right. So we have to go to break. But when we get back, we're going to be talking about what's going on in Chicago and why people are unhappy.
Yeah, boy. That's next. Stay real. At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
For nearly 30 years, crime was falling in the United States. No more. Far-left politicians have allowed our streets and parks. The national murder rate is at its highest in 25 years. The result of far-left policies that leave innocent Americans at the mercy of violent criminals. You've seen the images. Subway riders pushed onto tracks by the violently deranged. Stores being looted in broad daylight. Elderly women viciously beaten on the street and outside their homes. Gang shootings turning cities into war zones. Hardened criminals rampaging without fear. No fear of arrest. No fear of prosecution. No fear of jail. No fear of any consequence at all. Instead, you are made to live in fear. Woke, progressive prosecutors are releasing dangerous predators before trial. Woke, far-left politicians have allowed our streets and parks to be overrun with crime and drugs. Police have been made into the enemy and criminals into a protected class. Violent crime is up 21% in Washington, D.C., 35% in Chicago, 41% in New York City, and murders are up 207% in Portland. Cities in chaos, billions in property damages, lives and families destroyed. Stop the woke war on police. Stop the far-left assault on public safety. Stop the radical left-wing love affair with criminals. Stop the insanity. Citizens for Sanity paid for this ad.
Come join us today at Sweet Potato's Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
When is enough enough?
I'm not sure. I think that there are some cities, New York being one of them, and Chicago being another one, that is really seeing the impacts of the people that they elect, and also, being sanctuary cities and being so nice and kind and living in this utopia that people talk of that really has not panned out in any area that we've ever seen them try it. So, one of the things that is so interesting to me is that Adams, the mayor in New York, was like, you can't be mean to these people. Then when they start getting shipped up there, it's overwhelming. But yet you guys asked for it. You said we're going to support Sanctuary City. We're going to allow all of these illegals to come in. It's cruel if we don't.
To understand the liberal mind, if that's possible. But remember when Bill de Blasio, which is not his real name, by the way, when Bill de Blasio was the mayor of New York, and they started letting people out of prison during COVID. And to be so, I don't know why all of a sudden letting people out of prison was going to help the COVID situation. But, and these people started that had these criminal records longer than your arm, started robbing again. He was surprised.
He couldn't believe it. He was giving him a second chance. What are you guys doing?
Why are you doing this? We're being so nice to you.
It doesn't work, Bill.
No, it really doesn't. And the people of Chicago, maybe, I don't know if they figured out that who they vote for is what's causing their problems, but sooner or later they're going to have to figure this out. And finally, taking matters into their own hands, vigilantism may be raising its ugly head once again.
Many of these residents say they no longer have any tolerance for the disruptive behavior by those seeking asylum here. It's making them feel unsafe.
They disrespect us, they rob us, they harass us.
And their patience is wearing thin.
Let me say this. They got one more time to deal with it, because otherwise, next time they deal with it, they're going to deal with it from the streets. We're going to take over it. Nobody's going to be able to stop us from what we're going to do to them.
Much of the residents' anger was directed at city officials in attendance, including 20th Ward Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, Chicago Deputy Police Chief Stephen Chung, and Family and Support Services Commissioner Brandy Kanazi. At one point, police had to intervene, breaking up an argument during public comment.
I mean, things are out of control in Chicago. The governor there, who is just he has been amazing.
Yeah, Governor Pritzker, who hadn't seen his feet in 20 years.
He signed over 130 bills in the last week. And one of those bills is that illegal immigrants can now become police officers. So that means that people that broke the law coming into this country can now arrest American citizens. Very exciting.
Yeah. And I don't know what recourse we would have, but and I don't know if they have to speak English or not.
Well, and maybe, who knows? I don't really know if we're about to see how crazy it's going to get. I think Chicago is going to be a good example of what it looks like when you have no common sense and when you don't put Americans first. So,
and one of these people are going to realize it's who you vote for actually influences what happens afterward.
Well, I think the good news is that because it's getting so bad, you actually see city council meetings being full, Board of Education meetings being full, Board of Elections meetings being full, because people are tired of it and they're like, what is going on? We elect you guys, and yet the will of the people is never done. It's always coming from another place. Typically, it impacts big business or different things like that instead of actually the citizens, which you're not elected by businesses. You are elected by citizens.
And by the way, and also reflects on big business. Small business as well. It just, I don't know where they think the money comes from, but it's the old. But I've gone to a couple of these city council meetings, and my takeaway from it was, well, listen to what you have to say as long as it doesn't interfere with what we've already decided to do. They always have these meetings, these public hearings, after they've made the decision to do something. Well, wonder what the people think. And they say, okay, well, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, we're glad to listen to you, but basically,
we're not going to do.
We're not voting for that.
We're going the way we want to, and we're going to spend more of your money.
Yeah, and I mean all three. So the county, which are the commissioners who control that budget, the school board, and also the city council of Savannah have decided to allow citizens to have more taxes. Regardless, they kept millage rate the same. However, your taxes still increase because your property values went up. So I think that that's one thing that people don't understand. And I also don't think that people understand how the city directly impacts your life, or the county commissioners, or school board. I don't have kids in school, so it doesn't impact me. Actually, it doesn't. Look at your tax bill. 60% of my taxes go to the school board.
Yeah,
for my property.
They get the largest chunk of change from all the agencies in the county. The school board gets the biggest chunk of change, and yet we voted the East Bloss tax, so they get even millions more money that we voted. And now they're talking about, we're going to keep the millage rate the same, but your property, again, as Brittany pointed out, your property values have gone up. Therefore, your taxes will go up no matter what the millage rate says.
Correct. And our friend Lizzie says the recourse is don't visit Chicago ever. And public comment is designed to give an illusion of public input or control.
And that is what is so sad is that Chicago and New York are two of my favorite cities. Once upon a time, they were great places to visit. Been to 2 conventions in Chicago and just loved the place. There are written songs about it. Frank Sinatra had 2 big hits about it, including, of course, New York, New York. They were once upon a time great cities when people actually had some sense who were in charge, and you actually enforced the laws. And that when they said it couldn't be done, remember all the negative when you had Mayor Dinkins, this dingbat that was in charge of New York, and the crime was running rampant, and Rudy Giuliani won as mayor, and they said, "Well, you can't clean this up." Yeah, he did. He started arresting people, and he started. It was something as simple as stop and frisk, and first of all, that was another lie from the media. It was stop, question, and frisk. It wasn't. They didn't just say, "Hey, you come over here. Let me search you because you look suspicious." There was a reason for it. But they also had the vandalism rule, the broken, what they call the broken window. If you saw something that was broken, you fixed it, and you didn't let it stand. When we let a great police officer get away from here, who made national headlines when he became the police chief. We had a Savannah detective by the name of Reuben Greenberg, who became the police chief of Charleston when they wanted to clean up the city. And brother, did he clean it up. And his motto was, if graffiti is up by 10, it's down by 3. He said, we have more paint than they do and more money than they do. He cleaned up that city big time. He went in the ghetto areas and started arresting people. Crime in Charleston dropped like a safe in free fall. The 60 Minutes did a feature on this guy. He was asked to be police chief in New York. In fact, he was police chief in Charleston and Mobile, Alabama, simultaneously for several years. How he worked that out, I don't know. But when they asked, this was the interesting thing, Brittany, when they asked him, they actually asked him to come to New York. And they said, we've got this crime problem. We want you to figure it out. Or what would you do? For example, we have all these people who are cheating the subway system by leaping over the turnstiles. What do you think we ought to do about that? He said, well, why don't you put the turnstiles at the top of the stairs? Well, oh God, we can't do it. Somebody might get hurt. Well, yeah, I'm sorry about that, but you know the consequences.
Yeah, well, and New York did used to be one of my favorite cities, but take a look at what it has turned into. It's wild, Bill.
Cesspool City.
So this is all of the illegal immigrants that have come in, and they don't have a place to stay, so they're just hanging out on the sidewalk. Look at this.
And what do they do? What are they doing all day?
I mean,
what are these people doing? Where are they going to the bathroom?
I don't know. I mean, they have cell phones. I don't know if you saw that.
How do they afford those? Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. We pay for them.
Yeah, exactly.
What are they doing?
They're hanging out.
Are there no jobs available in New York City?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, how do you go into a country unprepared? I mean, if you don't speak the language, like how
does a community not prepare? What was this? Did we do the story a few weeks ago on the ones that were coming into Oregon? Mm-hmm. And they said, well, we're not ready to. Why weren't you ready? Why weren't you ready for these
guys
people?
were okay with it.
Yeah. So what was the plan to bring them in other than to vote for Democrats?
Exactly. Well, and it also, the trick that California has been doing for a very long time is they've allowed all these people to come in. So when the census comes out, they get another seat. Mm-hmm. So that's been their trick for years.
Yeah.
And our friend Lizzie says, I rarely hear anyone talking about going to New York City for a fun trip. I used to go every year or two, but never again. New York City on the sidewalk, it's going to get cold before long.
I want to see that. I want to see that 9/11 monument so badly, and yet I ain't setting foot in that city.
It's horrible.
Not until some real people get in charge.
Yeah, and they had an opportunity to get a better mayor, and
sure did.
Mayor Adams has almost been worse than de Blasio.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting.
Yeah,
who knew? When you ask, can it get worse? It definitely can. It always can.
Yeah, don't ask that question because they take it as a challenge.
Exactly.
All right, coming up next.
When we get back, we're going to be looking at a PragerU video. Is America losing its mind?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you might agree with it. It's all coming up. Stay real. At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America. Drew, I didn't think this was supposed to be a serious show.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like
rather than my skills.
I want to be judged
by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long.
When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist.
I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Monday, the final day of July.
Yes, and what a week it is. Tomorrow up in Atlanta, they're going to be having a state board of elections meeting.
Mm-hmm.
There is a movement here in Georgia. The Paper Please or Unplug Georgia are kind of the two main ones going on, but they have to do with our voting machines, Dominion, people being, very untrusting of them. So I can't imagine why. Yes.
Yeah. It's not like we're making this stuff up.
Yes. And there, is a group who is pushing for a special session to try and get something done before the 2024 election, which is really imperative just because that is going to be one of the most important elections that we always hear in our lifetime. However, I really do see when we're on the cusp of all of this stuff with the transgender stuff, them selling out the country. I mean, they just approved $345 billion for Taiwan for weapons, which I don't necessarily disagree with. However, we cannot continue to write checks and give people money when Americans are suffering and we don't have our own
or
house
weapons
in order.
We need a Manhattan Project for ammunition.
Yes.
I mean, we've got to get we've got to get our stockpiles redone. It's been said that if we went to war today, we might have enough ammo for 5 days.
Well, we're not going to be any good to anyone if we don't, put our
Exactly.
own oxygen mask on first instead
Mhm.
of, giving away everything to everyone else. We really are not in a position right now to be able to do that. And I am not really sure what the heck is going on up in Washington, D.C., but they need to figure it out.
Oh, brother. But has America lost its mind?
Feels that way.
I don't give money to the University of Mississippi anymore because I am so disgusted with what's happened at my beloved university. I never thought it would happen there, but unfortunately it has, and that's it. You can thank public education for the most part for indoctrinating these kids. But I do give to Hillsdale College. It still teaches the Constitution and teaches the real facts about things. Watch some of their courses online, and Prager University. I make some donations there because one thing is tax deductible. But whether it was tax deductible or not, it is worth your money to keep these things free. And it's good to know that a lot of schools now, I think in Florida now, PragerU videos are being shown to the kids.
As they should be.
Yes, indeed. And have we lost our mind? Another great Prager University video asking that question.
There are few things worse than being called intolerant, inflexible, or close-minded. Who wants to be that? Isn't it far better to be open to everything, dismissive of nothing? Well, not necessarily. Let's frame this a different way. Should we have any standards at all? Or should the standards simply be anything goes? These are new questions. For most of American history, standards of acceptable behavior were generally agreed upon. Today, we can't even agree on the difference between men and women. Those on the progressive left seem dead set on unsettling just about every settled question, all in the name of being open-minded. But can your mind be so open that your brains fall out? Do we need to tolerate every crackpot view under the sun, no matter how harmful, no matter how false? Do we need, for example, to keep an open mind on murder? Of course not. That question's settled, and every citizen has an obligation to follow the law. Even if someone doesn't want to, even if he identifies as a serial killer. How about a more controversial example? Consider the case of Drag Queen Story Hour, an activist organization that sends transvestite men wearing sexualized clothing into elementary schools and public libraries to read books and sometimes even dance in front of little kids. In the name of tolerance, must we allow men to strap on stilettos and wiggle around in front of toddlers, even when our communities object, even when we know that it's wrong? This example is a little bit tougher for the tolerance crowd, not because the answer is obvious, it is, but because any way you answer, someone's views are not going to be tolerated. If we answer, yes, we do need to tolerate Drag Queen Story Hour, then we are refusing to tolerate the wishes of parents and taxpayers who don't want their public property used in drag shows for kids. If we answer no, we're refusing to tolerate the wishes and behavior of the transvestites who want to perform in public schools. There is no world in which the answer to this question accommodates and tolerates everyone and everything. So the question that divides us is not whether every public behavior must be tolerated. The question that divides us is which public behaviors should be tolerated and which should not. For most of American history, if a man dressed up in sexual clothing to perform for children, he'd be arrested. For centuries, America had refused to tolerate all sorts of bad things, such as obscenity, the incitement to violence, and public nudity. Even when such laws and limits have been repealed or gone unenforced, it isn't as though some sort of pure tolerance has blossomed in their place. Instead, old intolerance has been replaced by new intolerance. 50 years ago, a teacher might be fired for teaching the Communist Manifesto in school. Today, a teacher could be fired for teaching the Bible in school. 10 years ago, if you called a man a woman, you'd probably get a punch in the nose. Today, if you refuse to call a man a woman, you might find yourself banned from social media, expelled from school, or out of a job. So then who decides what those limits of toleration should be. Until relatively recently, the answer was, we the people decide. It sounds quaint now, but we had what were once called community standards. And what were those standards based on? The short answer is tradition. That is, what has worked well in the past. Today, we seem to live in a world with no reference to the past. We live in what British journalist Douglas Murray has dubbed Year Zero. It is presumed that we are much smarter than all those who lived before us. This is a dangerous way of thinking because it's not rooted in anything, and it can be uprooted by the next political fad. Of course, not everything that was done in the past was good or ought to be preserved into the future. For centuries, slavery was commonplace, but it wasn't good. But tradition is the anchor that helps us discern the good. It avails us of the wisdom of the ages, and this discernment of the good led us to abolish slavery. Even though some of the founding fathers owned slaves, they knew it was wrong. They were anchored in the biblical idea that all men are created in the image of God, and that tension eventually guided the country toward abolition. If we're going to overturn social norms, the burden of proof that radical social changes are going to make things better should be on the revolutionaries, not on the defenders of tradition, the conservatives. The conservatives have over 3,000 years of history behind them: the Bible, the Magna Carta, English common law, the American Constitution, the Gettysburg Address. I'll take that over Drag Queen Story Hour any day. How about you? I'm Michael Knowles, host of The Michael Knowles Show for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
Indeed. Yeah, Michael Knowles is fantastic.
Yes, and I think it's important for us to quit confirming people's idea. It's like, we used to believe in live and let live. Mm-hmm. We can no longer do that because these people are crazy. And you also have to ask yourself, what kind of a man wants to dress up as a woman and perform in front of little children? Like, that's sick and disgusting and wrong.
And what is and for what purpose? Why are schools even tolerating this and allowing these people into the classroom?
Well, and if you want to do that at a drag brunch among adults, like, do your thing. But to do it in front of children, I think also brings us to the next point of, like, those people have got to have some sort of fetish to want to dress up as women and perform in front of children. I'm sorry, it's just not normal.
No, it isn't. And it's the only purpose can possibly be to poison their minds, because kids don't know sex. I had my 10-year-old grandson was talking to me one time, and he said something about sex. He says, but I really don't know what that is. He's 10 and he's brilliant. He's over the top brilliant.
Well, they shouldn't. I mean, kids should stay as innocent for as long as possible. Yeah. We should not be trying to corrupt them. We should not be trying to,
get the rest of your life to be an adult.
Well, that's the other thing. They're trying to normalize it to where, kids can make a decision on, number one, mutilating their own bodies, but then that brings us into pedophilia. They should be able to decide whether they have sex with someone or not. That is not. I mean, we've protected children from tattoos, from piercings, from so many things.
Drinking alcohol.
Yes, cigarettes. I mean, you name it, we protect them from it. But this sexualization of them, we've got to stand up and just say, no, it's not okay. Yeah. We need to protect children. And, we have a long way to go because they've allowed it to creep in, and it's here in our schools. So
yeah, this is truly sick, and we have to get it out. It's just like cancer. It has to be removed.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you can't tolerating cancer in your body. Yeah, how's that working?
Yeah, and Lizzie Warren says it's not normal, and the books in the schools are sexualizing children. They sure are.
It's pathetic. All right, coming up next.
People, I don't know how you feel about the word reimagine, but every time I hear it, I'm like, this is not going to be good.
No. Yeah, reimagining Snow White. Yeah, that's a good idea.
No, it's not. No. When we get back, we'll be talking about that.
Billions more lost for Disney.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah. We'll never be alone, Savannah. The beauty of the world, Savannah. Let's all take a walk, Savannah. I'm coming home, Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here on this Monday morning, final day of July, as we get ready for school starting. I had 10 people hospitalized in a back-to-school festival yesterday because of heat exhaustion. That'll tell you something.
Yeah, well, the good news is that we're going to have 2 supermoons in the month of August, the first one being tomorrow night.
Wow.
Which, if you haven't seen a supermoon, they're beautiful. And the other one is going to be August 30th. Hopefully it's not raining here.
Hopefully we're going to be able to see it. There's not a cloud cover. There was something that happened, there was something, a celestial event, I remember a few months back that was only happens every 30,000. There was some comet or something.
Yep.
A meteor that was coming by, won't be by again. So the last time it passed by, we were in the Stone Age.
Yeah.
And it won't pass by for another 30,000 years or so. And it was cloudy. I'm going to have to wait another 30,000 years for this. And what if it's cloudy that night?
Exactly.
Jeez.
The clouds here, really.
I'm going to have to rent an airplane
Yes.
and go above the clouds. Oh, there it is.
Yes, hopefully we can catch a break and we can see these supermoons.
Because I've been trying to, it's difficult for me to get my wife back on an airplane now because we see all these things about delays and you wait at the airport and people get, you have to wait there for days and you miss this, you miss that. So I decided to go, there's an app or a website, Wheels Up, private planes, private jets. And I called him up and said, I'd like to go to Yellowstone. What would be the, how much? He said, well, for this, and this, and round trip, about $46,000. I said, no, I don't want to buy the plane. I just want to fly on it. $46,000?
It's a little bit out of our price range.
Well, I thought first class was expensive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and Lizzie Warren says, plan to go see the 2024 total eclipse that will go across middle America. And that is one of my favorite things that I've ever done. I actually went to Portland, Oregon to see the eclipse last time. I think that was in 2019. But good experience, very cool life.
Yeah. Did you know did they ask you for your pronouns?
No, thank goodness. It was before all of the madness. And Portland used to be one of my favorite cities. But
great place.
I just don't think that it is the same.
Now, somebody that doesn't have any financial worries is Hunter Biden.
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice. And we're trying to look into why you don't have a job and you're making millions of dollars. This is almost as good as Jesse Jackson. I remember Rush Limbaugh used to ask, said, if I ever met Jesse Jackson, I would ask him, my only question would be, how do you do it? You're a reverend and you don't have a church. You're a civil rights leader and you don't have any. You got this coalition of some sort,
and you have rights. So
you're a millionaire and you don't have a job. How do you do it? Just asking. Same thing. And so that's what Congress is trying to ask. Now, you won't see this in the Washington Compost because they don't cover the news; they cover up the news, and other organizations as well. The hearing last week with the trans people and everything. ABC as the #1 watched news program right now. In their 22-minute broadcast, they never mentioned it. They didn't even mention it.
Does not surprise me. Lizzie did want to make a comment to you, Bill. Well, Bill, Hunter is a world-class artist. Who knew?
That's right. Yes. Picasso, eat your heart out.
Yes.
Meanwhile, so Representative James Comer is saying that he wants to get to the bottom of this, whether they like it or not. And so they're going to be. He was on with Maria Bartiromo on a Fox Business Channel yesterday. A woman who's terrific, but her voice is like fingernails on a blackboard to me. But nevertheless, Comer with Bartiromo yesterday.
First, let me get to this breaking news. I have in my hand a letter from the Department of Justice that was sent to the Southern District of New York on Saturday. By the way, Devin Archer is testifying on Monday. Do you usually see the DOJ send letters like this out on a Saturday?
Never. This is the first time I've ever heard of the Department of Justice doing anything on a Saturday.
So what is this letter? Can you walk us through it? The government is apprising the court of the status of Devin Archer's appeal of his judgment of conviction, and they request that the court set a surrender date for the defendant to report to a facility. Please walk us through what this letter says.
Yeah, the letter from the Department of Justice is trying to nudge the judge to go ahead and sentence Devin Archer for something unrelated to what we're going to be talking to him about tomorrow. It's odd that it was issued on a Saturday, and it's odd that it's right before he's scheduled to come in to have an opportunity to speak in front of the House Oversight Committee and tell the American people the truth about what really went on with Burisma. So, I don't know if this is a coincidence, Maria, or if this is another example of the weaponization of the Department of Justice, but I can tell you this. The lengths to which the Biden legal team has gone to try to intimidate our witnesses, to coordinate with the Department of Justice, and to certainly coordinate with the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to encourage people not to cooperate with our investigation, to encourage banks not to turn over bank records, to encourage Treasury not to let us have access to those suspicious activity reports. It's very troubling, and I believe that this is another violation of the law. This is obstruction of justice, but nevertheless, we're going to continue to move forward and try to present the American people with the facts and the truth about this president and his family.
God bless James Comer and Jim Jordan and all the others who are keeping the torch lit.
Yes, well, and they are going to let Devin Archer testify today, so we'll see how that ends up. It'll be interesting as per usual.
Yeah, don't do your happy dance yet, though.
No, he's been able to snake his way around accountability, and I think that it must be nice.
Yeah, and of course the media is already laying the groundwork for this, saying this is a convicted felon, so how can you believe him anyway?
Again, the media is horrible.
Yeah,
and
so is Disney these days.
Oh, we already knew that. Hunter Van Gogh is what Steve Stanton Sr. says about Hunter Biden. I heard that his artwork is just something to be seen. Right.
And there's a very unknown phrase in history of Van Gogh actually saying, "Stereo, what's the big deal?" All right, now that's another story, but nevertheless, that appeals to my sick sense of humor. Snow White isn't Snowy White anymore.
Well, Bill, you have to reimagine things in this culture.
You do, yes.
Or destroy it, however you want to look at it. The people that were involved with the remake of Snow White, which is scheduled to come out in 2024, had a lot to say about what this movie is really going to be about.
That the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
Also, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms, is what makes it so relevant to where we are today.
I don't know who those people are.
So one of them is going to actually be playing Snow White, and the other one is one of the writers on the new Snow White being reimagined.
Is she not on strike?
Well,
just wondering.
Yeah, good call. I'm not sure who's impacted by this strike that they speak of, but I heard that they're trying to still hire people. Netflix is looking for people as well as Hollywood. So
send up a flare.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, because we're filming a couple of movies here. The one that Clint Eastwood is directing has been put on hold.
Juror number 2.
But they don't have. There's another movie they're filming here that's just gotten the green light to go on. I don't understand it.
I don't either, Bill. I will say that the fact that they're just talking about how Snow White will not be saved by dwarves or by men or on and on and on. I kind of am getting sick of women in power. That's all they really talk about, and I think it's also sad that they're discounting that it's okay for people to be a stay-at-home mom. It's okay for you not to be a vice president of a company. Like those things are
feminism.
Yeah.
For all this.
Yeah, I'm like, let's go back. Let's roll back just a little bit. I think feminism has gone too far.
Now, the irony of this is that when that was the first full-length cartoon, for the Snow White was, in fact, when Disney announced that he was going, it took 7 years. In the old days, before computers and everything, it took 7 years to draw one of these things. 35 millimeter film. When you're watching a movie, you're actually watching a bunch of still shots running through a camera really fast, a projector really fast. 35 frames a second, or 24 frames a second, I'm sorry. They have to draw each one of those frames. It took about 7 to 8 years to produce one of these things. As much work that had to go into it. When Disney announced he was going to do a full-length cartoon that came out in Variety or something, Hollywood just went up in hysterics. Every expert told Disney, Walt, nobody's going to sit through a 90-minute cartoon. It isn't going to work.
Those were the days, 90-minute cartoons.
Yeah.
A movie.
Yeah, right. They said, nobody's going to watch a cartoon for an hour and a half, or an hour, better than an hour or so. Surprise, surprise. In fact, Disney was very good at doing surveys. He would go out and ask 10 people about his idea. And if all 10 people thought the idea was terrible, he acted on it right away.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
I like that.
Worked.
Steve Stanton says the smirk and arrogance on that young child's face. Yes. I think it'll be another flop for Disney. That's just a feeling I have.
More millions lost.
Yes.
But as we leave you today,
You know,
a happy dance.
yes, from President Trump. He had a huge showing this weekend, per usual. And, I think it's just good that he is under so much pressure, but he still has a lightness to him. And, there are rumors that he could be arrested in the next couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here he is doing the happy dance as he's welcoming people to his latest rally as we leave you today. And stay real. We'll see you next month.
My hero! Yes, yes. No, thank you, sir.